G'day, Lance. How you doing?
Very good. How are you today?
I'm not too bad. Thought we'd get together. You tell me that you've just replaced your laptop battery, and I was intrigued how the process works. So I thought it'd be a good idea for us to get together and explain the whole process and why is that you did replace the battery and how you went about doing it. So
Yeah,
tell us about yourself, who you are, and what you do. Actually, it would be interesting for people to know who might not know who you are.
sure. So, Lance Hasty of Com Technology, just specialise in business technology solutions. So, it's taking a problem in your business and turning it into a solution. So, we set the wants from needs and what you're actually wanting to get a piece of technology in your business to work. And it sounds so broad, and it really is. It's like a mechanic where they'll change the wheel on your tyre or tyre on your wheel through to rebuilding the engine. Anything in the technology realm is where I work.
Cool. And if you don't know who I am, check out my website, dehick.com. But I'm kind of a connector. I'm a person that gets people together, and also I like to help people in business overcome obstacles. So your obstacle at the moment was why? So were I correct in thinking that you're outside the warranty for your computer because they sent out a recall about that model of computer that you've got?
Well, yes. So the backstory to it was I've got a MacBook Pro 2017. It's been going great. There's no problems with it. And then one day I noticed it wasn't sitting level. It was starting to wobble a little bit on the flat desk. Oh, this is a little bit odd.
All right.
And you could see a light bulge underneath it, and it was starting to get a bit warm, which didn't really bode too well. Something funny's going on here. But
That's a 2015 model, wasn't it?
2017.
Oh, yeah, not that
So
old.
I did actually get it in 2017. So it does actually say it's 3 years old. Where have those 3 years gone? But yeah, anyway, didn't really think too much of it and just carried on. There was no warning. Battery performance was fine. I unplug it, walk around. It'd still work for hours on end on its batteries, no worries. Then started to encounter some power issues with it not actually starting properly, and got a bit of a workaround there. Didn't really think too much of it. But the old wobbling MacBook on the desk was really getting to me a little bit. So I did a bit of research, and yes, there had been a recall program on those batteries.
So the
And
battery's actually like swelling inside the device.
yeah, so that's what I found out in the end. I didn't know that at the time. I hadn't been contacted by Apple that they were doing a recall program. Apparently, they did for a certain number of MacBooks, and for some whatever reason, either I fell outside their notification, or they just didn't deem it was actually in the batch that needed to be replaced. Unfortunately, I did have the batch of batteries that needed to be replaced,
Yeah.
but as I was outside the warranty period, it was like, can't help you.
The interesting thing I really was surprised when I was talking to you earlier is the fact that there's more than one battery. I thought they just had one battery, but you tell me there's six batteries. Is that right?
Yes, so doing some research on it, that this is an issue. The batteries do need to be replaced, and what I ended up doing was getting a genuine replacement batch of batteries. It comes in well, when you see the picture, it probably paints 1,000 words. But it's three packages of cells. Sorry, not three, six packages of cells,
Mm.
and they're all interconnected to create essentially one large battery. And it's how they actually get to keep the MacBook in its very slim and thin profile by having the cells distributed throughout the MacBook chassis.
So with batteries, they have heat. So heat isn't good for a computer. So that's a bit of science in itself as well,
Mm.
because
It was a bit of a warning sign that something's not quite right. But at the once I did get the replacement batteries, and then took the plunge and went, right, we're going to replace it. Had the tools, obviously, in the
because everyone has those
technology.
tools laying around.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, not only did I have the tools, I have the workspace, and I've got the background to do it. So it was just a case of just get on and do it. Uh, Really, there was nothing stopping me other than myself, and I had to solve this problem. I see when I research, others have been paying north of $650, and I'm going to hope that included the battery. to get theirs done.
Oh yeah. And so,
Uh,
what was the battery cost, and where did you get them from? Did you get them online? What do you get
yeah,
through Apple?
so I got the supposed branded genuine Apple battery replacement off TradeMe, and
Oh,
it
I
was
thought you were going to
delivered
say
for
AliExpress. That's what
yeah,
was that? Mm.
it was delivered overnight for $140. So
Wow, is
to
that all?
be fair,
Not
it's
too
a
bad.
fair price.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overnight, so well,
Wow.
that's a pretty sharp deal.
Wow, that's amazing. I thought, well, was on the recall program, as I said earlier in the show, but they had a 27-inch desktop Mac, and the hard drive blew up. And then within 18 months, they sent us another notification saying the replacement hard drive they put in my 27-inch Mac was also faulty. So I had to be replaced. But each of those hard drives were $1,100. And they weren't even like solid state. They had, I think, 256 solid state, and then they had a terabyte of, the normal standard hard drive. But I was amazed. But I was actually, the second time I was outside the warranty period, and they said, well, because you've had yours replaced once already, you get another 2 years. But obviously, with the battery, they just wipe the hands of you. Now, I wouldn't think a 2017 MacBook Pro should have any problems. So we're talking 3.5 years, 4 years. It's a pretty new computer to actually.
It is, and what it came down to was that the um, the actual the batteries themselves, there was a batch where they did have an issue, and the issue was that there was there was an issue, and that they would actually swell up. There was the gas in there that would expand and leak out into the protective bag that surrounded the cells,
Mm.
and then started to obviously push the case out, which created the not sitting flat on the desk symptom. And then Apple went round and said, well, we've acknowledged there's a batch, and all you use that did receive these MacBooks need to have them replaced. Again,
Okay, so you've got your battery handy?
yes, so I do. I actually, this isn't how they come out. I have cut them apart for safety reasons. When I say cut them apart, cut them into the individual packs
Oh,
so
yeah.
that I can now actually get them recycled and disposed of. But there's one example. That's one of the smaller ones. And
Right.
to give it some perspective,
Wow, look at that.
see it's bubbled up like a balloon.
I wouldn't even think the thickness of the computer was any thicker than that. So that would have been just, it's obviously quite spongy.
Well, it's a plastic bag, and so I can move the gas around inside the bag. But
Mm.
imagine if that gas escaped, particularly under a charging environment or where, uh,
On the
where
airplane.
there's. I didn't really want to go there, to be fair. But that's
Ah, cool.
what they do have, these recall programs. Look, I think, to be fair, if it did, you would hope that the gas leaked out. The chance of it exploding or anything really serious.
Hmm.
Uh,
So you don't need
I
to
guess
solder those batteries in. You obviously flip the laptop upside down. Well, I don't know if you do these days. Do you take the keyboard out the front? Is that what you do?
it's a little bit more than that. It was about 1.5 hours to do it,
Right.
and involved removing approximately 30 screws.
All right.
And
How many
uh,
you got left?
yeah, I've got one left over, and there's a reason for that.
Oh yeah.
And it's not that it was left over, but I do know where it is to go, and it's just not to go in at the moment.
Right.
So all screws are accounted for. There is a great ifixit.com resource on how to do this. So there was a 65-step process. I
Yep.
followed that. Absolutely brilliant, on point, and it got me to the end. We reversed it to get back to the start as far as getting it all up and running again.
Mm.
But it did have to be disassembled down to a level of disassembly you really would not want to go, and that's down to the bare chassis. So it wasn't a case of open up the case, take the battery out, put a new one in. It was a case of open up the case, remove the logic board, it was remove the touchpad, unplug all the connectors, remove the logic board, and then it was getting some, I used acetone in the end to soften the adhesive around the batteries that hold it into the chassis, and then just very gently getting them away from the aluminium chassis.
So you mean they're like kind of fixed there and they wouldn't
Yeah,
give
so
it away?
they're glued in place, and that's probably to Apple's credit with everything they do, even to the screws that hold it all together. They use a form of Loctite to hold the screw in so it won't come undone with vibration. The same with the batteries and how they're placed. They're really well sandwiched in there, so they won't move. There's no movement in any part of it, and
Mm.
that's really what caused the issue with the expansion and why the case pushed out, because there is no room. When those cells did start to expand and swell, the case went with it.
Wow. So I went skiing the other day. I hadn't skied for 30 years, but while I'm in the car, my partner's driving there and I'm looking on YouTube on how to ski. And I got 6 lessons virtually on the way there. So it was quite handy actually. So technically speaking, if you were a wee bit more technical, you could follow the step-by-step guide and have a go doing it yourself, but you did need some special tools. And you said you had one tool that you were kind of wishing that you had, but you managed to find or get.
Yes, and I have purchased the extended range of service tools for the MacBook, and each model uses different sized and different types of screwdrivers. There's an example, there's a pentalobe type screwdriver, which looks like a hex type, a Torx type screwdriver, but it's got one extra little star in it. So if you haven't got one of those, you're not going any further. You're not going to try and butcher it out. So yeah, there was one particular screwdriver I didn't have. Did have to get out the trusty file and modify a screwdriver I did have, and got that across the line.
So filing your toolkit down. Awesome, man. So you're going to go into a mall and get yourself a stand there and promote the services of battery replacement?
Well, that's a very good question. What it does show, and again, credit to the iFixit crew, that you're able to, or you feel empowered to be able to do it yourself if you have got the tools, if you have got some background, some experience. Now, electronics has been my life background. The anti-static mat a system and process of handling these sorts of, being just really careful about it.
So you still use anti-static mats, and does that mean you still have that attached to you?
No, I don't need to do that. But essentially, I've got the anti-static mat, so it's something I've learned from day dot. I
Mm.
just have my arm. I'm always connected to the mat and whatever I'm working on, so I'm
Mm.
always keeping myself grounded essentially the whole time.
I remember once years and years ago, and I'm talking 98, I decided to use a screwdriver to do something on a circuit board and slipped, and that was the end of that circuit board. It was like, don't only
And
do
you've
that
got
once.
to learn, yeah, you've got to learn those hard lessons, and you've got to
Yeah.
know when you're outside your comfort zone, and you've
Mm.
got to know when not to actually put screwdrivers in places you're not meant to put screwdrivers.
Yeah, no, good stuff. All right then, so that's good. So if you were thinking about replacing your own battery, contact Lance. Don't perhaps dive in if you don't have the right tools. And obviously, if you haven't got years of experience and feel that you're confident in do it, don't tackle it because how many steps along the way was there?
It was 65 steps, but yes, to really reinforce that, I'm happy to assist and offer guidance,
Yeah,
particularly if you do want to give it a go yourself.
yeah.
I certainly would suggest you could, but also if you haven't got the necessary experience or expertise, then do take a deep breath and look for someone who can assist.
So, and the other alternative is going to Apple and paying anything from $600 to $1,000, I'm guessing, to get your.
Potentially, you're going to pay a lot of money, and the other one is, when are you going to get it back? As if it's an Apple computer, you're going to be using it all the time. You need it back as soon as.
Hmm,
And I was up and running in a couple of hours, and beaut,
hmm.
absolutely thrilled.
And I think they've got a new chip coming out, the new MacBook Pro. So I've just gone and bought myself a brand new MacBook Pro. I had a custom built i7 one and it was great. And I've gone and got the highest spec one I can within reason. And it only cost me about $4,000, which is ironic in a way because when I got the base model Mac and upgraded it to the specs that I wanted, it actually was going to cost me, I think, 5,400. So then I went, when I was online, went to the one I wanted and just put a bigger hard drive in it. So I've got a terabyte of space, and that cost $4,000. So I can't understand why I could up spec one for an extra $1,600, but buy the base model that's high spec and save myself obviously $1,600. However, if you were going to spend $1,000 on a 4-year-old Mac, it probably would actually be a waste of money in a way, because the reality is you might get a couple of 3 more years out of it when you can go buy a brand new one for $4,000. But like yourself, spending $140 on a battery, it makes more sense because you're not over capitalizing on the monetary value left in that computer you've got.
Absolutely. And it had to be done, but it was the difference between it being basically a piece of junk, because again, how much were you going to spend on it, versus it actually now being essentially back to a fully functional, as it should be, MacBook.
Brilliant. Oh, awesome, man. So we'll call it quits on the live stream. Any ideas on what we could discuss next time?
Something will come to mind, not just right at the
Yeah.
moment.
I'm thinking of doing some SEO stuff myself, so we might
That's
I've got a website that has 900 blogs, and I'm going through them and re-SEOing them or making them more Kiwi friendly. And I've had a wee bit of a dabble over the last month or so, and I've had some good success. So I want to show people how I've done that. So if you are listening, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next show. That's Lance, and that's Danny. Is that how they say it, the two Ronnies? It's good night from me, and
good night from me, and it's good night from him.
Cheers.